So here's the question. As a real estate investor, how do you build a business that you're excited to show up to every day, while you constantly grow your stream of passive income that you and your family can depend on for life, without having to leave your computer or even live somewhere that houses are affordable? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Welcome to the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast with your host, Brian Elwood.
What's up, everybody? Brian Elwood here. Welcome back to the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast. In the car right now on the way to the gym around lunchtime. Nice sunny day here in Colorado. Going to be pretty hot. It's already in the mid 80s around noon. But the heat's not too bad here because there's no humidity. For those of you who don't really know my story, I used to live in Tennessee, and that's where our business is now. We run it virtually from Denver. My business partner and I do. A lot more humid there. I was actually in Spain for 2 weeks. I got back about a week ago, and it was an amazing place. We went to Barcelona, San Sebastian. I got engaged, which was the best part of the trip. But the humidity there was a lot higher than it is in Denver. And we were walking around a park, and literally I started freaking out almost because my entire outfit was just sticking to my arms and legs. It just felt so uncomfortable. I wasn't used to it, and I basically realized how spoiled I've gotten living in Colorado. So if you don't like humidity or bugs, you need to come to a higher altitude, I can tell you that much. If you guys haven't gotten your copy of my free book yet, go to fireyourself.net. The book is all about how we hired our first acquisition manager to take phone calls, make offers, go on appointments, follow up with sellers in our real estate investing business. And our revenue was currently around $300,000 or $400,000 a year when we hired him, and went to about $1 million a year over the next 12 months. It's pretty insane how much of a difference it made. It's a very powerful hire to have a full-time sales rep. It also does not have to cost you hardly anything or anything at all. That's another big misconception people have. And you also do not need to have a bunch of leads or any leads to go ahead and make this hire. There's systems you can set up in place to give them a very full plate from the very first day they come to work for you. But hiring the person requires you to know the right job ad to run, the right interview questions to ask, the personality tests to give them, how to onboard and train them, and then manage them ongoing, and certain processes to put in place for when they talk to sellers and go on appointments. So I basically put every single thing I know about this process into the book. And we've had up to 3 sales reps at one time in our company at the most, and we've always done over 7 figures a year ever since we've had a full-time sales rep. And if I had to start all over, that would be the very first person I would hire. I personally do not like talking to sellers myself. I'd rather have an acquisition manager than an office manager. I'd rather pay bills and write checks and, go to the P.O. box than go on appointments myself. Don't like that part of the job. I like managing sales teams, not being a sales rep, even though I did it for a couple years in our company. And if you're like me, then this book is for you, and you'll be happy to learn that you do not have to be your company's sales rep. In fact, you should not be. And I'll tell you why in the book, and it's all for free. So go to www.fireyourself.net and get your copy. All right, what are we going to talk about today? So, Russell Brunson. I've probably mentioned him on the last episode. I need to stop talking about him so much and pretend like I actually know a thing or two, but I got to be honest, I'm geeking out on this guy right now because he's just such a smart marketer and businessman. His 2 books, .com Secrets and Expert Secrets, have really just got my head spinning lately. So I wanted to talk about another thing he said actually in a podcast that really relates to real estate. And this is going to disrupt what you've been taught before. But I believe it is accurate. So what Russell said is he's coached a lot of different entrepreneurs. He's had massive, mastermind groups where everybody gets up and talks, and he's seen a lot of people that want to be successful in business. And he said that if someone gets up and talks and tells about their business idea or their venture, what they're doing, why they're doing it, why they're excited about it, he can tell instantly whether or not somebody is going to fail or succeed. He can instantly tell. Now that would be pretty valuable, wouldn't it, to instantly know if somebody's going to succeed or fail, or if you are going to succeed or fail in your business venture. Want to know what he said? Okay, so he said, anytime someone gets up and speaks about their business and they are doing it for the money, they are not very likely to succeed. Doing it for the money, not likely to succeed. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, I've done it for the money before. I've been very successful, or I know someone who has. And the truth is that it's not a hard and fast rule. People do things for the money all the time and succeed. I mean, I was doing my real estate business for the money when we first got started and got to 30 rental properties pretty quickly for the money. And I do consider that a success to have gotten that many properties, but we kind of learned later that if you are doing something for the money, it's great when the going is easy, but as soon as things get tough, as soon as the money stops rolling in, the motivation goes away because you were doing it for the money and the money's not there. So what are you doing it for now, right? Steve Jobs, that was his most famous business quote, is you have to be passionate about what you do, because otherwise you won't have the grit to get through the difficult periods, which will inevitably show up. So doing it for the money works. It works short term, probably more so than long term. It also somewhat has a plateau to it, it seems, because if you're doing it for the money, once you get the money, your motivation kind of wanes as well. You've got sort of as much money as you wanted to get, so what's the purpose of doing it anymore, right? So that's what he said. If you're doing something for the money, you're either going to fail or you're going to have limited success. He also said, I can tell instantly if somebody is going to succeed. And I thought that was really interesting. And I assumed he was going to say they have to be passionate about what they do. And in a sense he did, but he didn't just say passionate. He said they need to be passionate about the marketing. Think about that for a second. Passionate about the marketing. Have you ever even heard anybody phrase it that way before? I had not personally. Heard everybody talk about being passionate, but passionate about the marketing. I mean, I've never been passionate about our marketing before in our real estate business. It's just always been about deploying direct mail and making sure your pay-per-click ads are running and, all that kind of stuff just to get leads, right? There's not like a strong sense of passion behind it. And that's why, even though, on some people's scales, we would be considered a success in real estate, I feel like our marketing, somewhat plateaued just because there wasn't really a lot of passion for it. So it was more or less kind of just going through the motions. And so what do I mean by an example? Let's think about an example of somebody who actually is passionate about the marketing. I can tell you that my coaching business, this podcast, what you're listening to now, and my book that I talk about those are all forms of marketing that I enjoy to do. This podcast is marketing. I love recording the podcast. Writing that book is marketing. I love the process of having written that book. Free Facebook Live trainings and webinars is marketing. I love doing those. It's just a natural fit for me to do those things, but they are also marketing at the same time. It's kind of like, let's say you go to dinner with some dude who's really passionate about what he does. He's like, I help people, whatever, get in shape, and they ask him about it. He's talking about it, and maybe there's some people at the dinner table who would like to get in shape or whatever. He's just marketing himself naturally with no effort because he'd be talking about that anyways. He'd be talking about that to probably his dog or his cat if they would listen. When you're passionate about what you do, the marketing is natural. It's a natural extension of you. You talk about it on Saturdays, on Sundays, while on vacation. You think about it in the middle of the night. It's you. It's your thing. So this is a lesson that I've never heard taught in the real estate space, but I think it is absolutely critical and foundational. That's why in our current business we are adding in, and I can't say that we do forms of marketing that we're passionate about yet, but we're adding those in to make sure we are doing this correctly. And those items involve starting a podcast, holding webinars to train, wholesalers or newbie investors on how to find leads and, analyze deals or get their first rental or whatever. And if you think about it, if you do that in your own market, if you had a podcast, for local real estate investors, if you held meetup groups or did webinars, just to add value and let other people teach and train, let's say, and assuming that is your passion, right? Because some people, I guess, are actually passionate about like sending out yellow letters and maybe writing copy for direct mail, and that's fine. Then they don't need to change kind of what you're traditionally taught in real estate. But if your passion is more digital marketing or education-based marketing, which is sort of the only way to go in marketing nowadays is to educate, then there's a lot of ways you can tweak your approach and still arrive at the same result. And I know, I'm going all over the place in this episode, but that's kind of what I want to convey to you at the core, is that you could, instead of sending out direct mail to homeowners, looking for people who wanted to sell their house, which you may not have any passion for, you could hold regular webinars and or meetup groups in your market to train other people how to do that, how to send out direct mail and go on appointments and get contracts. And of course, at some point, you're going to plug the fact that you would be a buyer if they happen to get anything. And so you're essentially going to create an army of bird dogs out there that are putting their eyes on the deal, spending their own money on marketing, etc. And all you have to do is be a teacher. You're being a teacher when you hold a webinar for your local market of real estate investors, but you're also marketing. Does that make sense? So the big takeaway is, out of all the ways that you could achieve your desired result, and in real estate it's usually to do deals, find leads, etc., what's a way that you can market for that result that you are passionate about? That's the question to answer, because marketing is everything. And in order for you to dominate in your market as the best marketer and always be anxious, or not anxious, but excited to improve and grow and become better and better at marketing, you have to be passionate about what you do. You have to be excited about the marketing. It's Russell Brunson 101 for you right there, and he's the man when it comes to marketing. So that's the takeaway, guys. I hope that helps some of you. You don't have to do marketing just in the same way that everyone else says you should do it. Some of the people in history that are looked upon as the innovators and the creators and the ones that changed the game are often the people who thought to do things differently. Thank you guys so much for listening. We're out of time. If you have not checked out my free book on how to hire your first acquisition manager to triple your business and your free time, go to www.fireyourself.net. Till next time, guys. Talk to you then.
Want more? Get your free copy of Brian's book that is changing real estate businesses everywhere. Just go to www.fireyourself.net. Also, register for your free virtual real estate investing online masterclass at virtualinvestingclass.com.